what my students wish they'd been told before doing the speaking section of the TCF. Number 1, in the first task of the speaking section, the examiner will ask you to introduce yourself, and the examiner may interact with you and ask you questions while you're introducing yourself. Be careful. You may have memorized a perfect presentation of yourself and your life. However, the examiner may trick you and ask you, for example, well, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite trip? What is the favorite place you've been to in the world? So you'll be taken by surprise and you may not know what to answer. So be prepared for that. Prepare a list of questions that they may ask you. Each examiner is different, so it could be anything. Number 2, in the second task, the examiner will ask you to obtain information on a given topic. This could be formal or informal. For example, it could be a task where you need to ask your neighbor questions about how to get to the dentist. So that would be informal. On the other hand, you could get a topic like at a travel agency, you need to obtain information about a given itinerary you would like to do in another country. That's a formal situation. So for an informal topic, you would use the pronoun tu or the possessives ton, ta, te, because you're talking to somebody you know. Could be a person. However, for the formal topic, you would use the pronoun vous, votre, and vos possessives. In both cases, you need to prepare a format for your questions and ask them all in the same manner. I suggest you use the reversed verb and subject questions. For example, y a-t-il un service à proximité? Où êtes-vous situé? Notice we're using the verb before the subject. If I say, are you happy? The verb is before the subject. Well, you can do that with all the verbs and all the subjects when you're asking questions and demonstrate to the examiner that you master a different level of French. This demonstrates a structured and systematic approach to asking questions, as opposed to a scattered, long-winded, and never-ending series of questions that are hard to follow. In the third task, you need to make a 4.5-minute presentation on a given topic, spontaneously. The examiner will give you the topic orally, not on a piece of paper. You need to understand the topic that you hear. Once it comes to the presentation, you need to structure them in the same manner as you would structure an essay, with an introduction, then a thesis and an antithesis, where you introduce the advantages and the disadvantages of different points of view. And you justify each point of view. You give an example to illustrate it in concrete terms. You need to talk simply and concisely. Make sentences with a subject, a verb, and an object that are easy to understand and easy to follow, where you illustrate your ideas, give examples from your personal life, and close your arguments. Then you move on to your personal opinion. This is the most important body of the task number 3. You need to argue, you need to justify your arguments based on your personal reality. Keep in mind that you need to keep talking for 4.5 minutes. That's going to feel like a very long time. So just keep giving examples from your personal life and keep going. Use link words. Use statements like il est important que, il est essentiel que, il est primordial que. Those are perfect formulas to introduce interesting ideas to justify your arguments. These formulas all introduce a subjunctive, so you can demonstrate your level of French by making statements using the subjunctive. The other thing you should be using as much as possible is the conditional, because the conditional introduces a hypothetical kind of argument, which is more elegant than using a simple present. At the end of your presentation, you need to wrap it up in a summary and a proper conclusion. And that's how you nail the speaking section of the TCF. Follow for more.